I'm Iain Menzies, Senior Infrastructure Specialist with the Global Partnership on Output-Based Aid, GPOBA. I've been working for some time as GPOBA's transaction advisor on this project, helping with the design and implementation. Perhaps I could start a bit with just explaining what GPOBA is. Some of you may not be very familiar with us as a trust fund. So we're a trust fund administered by the World Bank, multi-donor trust fund established in 2003 with a remit to facilitate access to basic services, that's infrastructure services like water, sanitation, electricity and gas, and more recently in the social sectors. We very much work on developing smart subsidy mechanisms, so subsidising the gap between what a poor household can afford to pay for access and the actual cost of access. So working on this project with WSP, we very much focused on the pro-poor dimension and working within a microfinance structure and access to finance structure, but also incorporating the use of smart subsidies, recognising that the full cost of commercial finance will be too great in terms of affordability to poor households. So as I think Rajesh was explaining in his presentation earlier, we had this combination of OBA subsidy and microfinance. I think the important thing from GPOBA's perspective and the subsidy perspective is that the way we structure our subsidies is on an output-based basis. So in this case, KRAP and the communities have to bear the performance risk of delivering the outputs, which they're contractually bound to, before they receive our subsidy. So what you're seeing in the structure is that we've designed outputs around numbers of connections that have to be delivered and a certain level of revenue, which is important for the credit of the project. But only when those outputs have been delivered, maybe over a period of 12 months, do we disperse our subsidy, which then pays roughly half the loan. So important in this and in the design of these sub-projects is that the communities have got sufficient capacity, a well thought out, a well developed business plan to give the credibility that they can reasonably deliver that and manage that risk before we disperse. So I think from our perspective this has also been very innovative in not only have we GPOBA working with WSP, but also working with our sister trust fund PF, provide a lot of the capacity building technical assistance support, but also working with IFC, with USAID, who provided a partial credit guarantee to help with the financing of the project. So in effect, you had a security structure which was covered broadly by 50% with USAID's partial credit guarantee and 50% on the relative assurance that the subsidy money was going to come from GPOBA. So I think this is innovative even for us. We haven't done many projects with microfinance institutions, and I think what's been interesting is that we've seen how this project has evolved from a smaller scale pilot with the Athy Water Services Board, scaled up with EU funds to a national level. I'm now working with Rajesh to set up a national OBA facility. The consultants have just finished their preliminary draft report, and we're in discussions with donors such as CEDA to provide significant grant funds on an OBA basis to complement the commercial finance, to scale this up at a national level, and also scaling up to a level of one level up in dealing with some of the water service providers and using them as a better credit quality borrower than some of these small scale service providers. So that's roughly where we've got with the project. It's also interesting, we're just starting to work with WSP in Mali, replicating this model. So I think we're getting a lot of interest wherever I go around the world. People really look at this project in terms of innovation of combining subsidy with commercial microfinance. And the only other place that we have experience of doing this is in solar home systems in Bangladesh. But I think in terms of sustainability and replication, this is probably one of the projects that we have that really lends itself to this scale up.